السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم. عندنا اليوم درس جديد، الدرس السادس والعشرون. So as normal, inshallah, I'll start off by reading the dialogue, but I want you to pay attention to how I vocalize. I say the vowel sounds of each word. It's important when you're learning to read Arabic, you're learning Arabic language, that you always mention all the vowel sounds. So I'm just going to start from here, inshallah. From Bashir, it says, يا فضيلة الشيخ نريد أن نشتري هذا المعجم الذي معك ولكننا لا نجده في المكتبات. المدرس: تجدونه في المكتبة الكبيرة التي أمام المسجد. تجدون فيها معاجم عربية أو أجنبية ومصاحف من بلاد مختلفة وصحفا من أنحاء العالم. يدخل أحمد: يا فضيلة الشيخ، أنا لا أجد محفظتي. المدرس: أفيها نقود كثيرة؟ أحمد: نعم، فيها 300 ريال. المدرس: أين وضعتها؟ أحمد: وضعتها على المكتب هنا وخرجت لأشرب الماء. المدرس: لما وضعتها على المكتب؟ هذا خطأ كبير، يجب أن تضعها في جيبك. أوجد أحد محفظته يا إخوان؟ خالد: لا، لم نجدها يا شيخ. عمر: ها هي ذي يا أستاذ، إنها تحت كرسيه. المدرس: خذها وضعها في جيبك. يقوم يحيى ويسير نحو المدرس. قف يا وليد، أين تريد أن تذهب؟ يا فضيلة الشيخ، أرجو أن تسمح لي بالذهاب لأن أبي يأتي اليوم إلى المدينة المنورة. متى يصل هنا؟ تصل الطائرة من جدة في 1:01. متى وصل أبوك إلى جدة؟ وصل البارحة. اذهب بسرعة، بقي نصف ساعة أو أقل. اسمع، أرجو أن تأتي بأبيك إلى بيتي. إن شاء الله سآتيك به غدا بعد صلاة العصر. نعم. That's the dialogue, inshallah. I hope you guys have been always looking at your vocab and learning your vocab to ensure when we read these dialogues you understand them. That's key. You understand the language at the moment of hearing it. The only way to become accustomed to this is frequent reading, going over the lessons again and again. Don't just go over the lesson once. But very important that you always go through your vocab bank. Always go through your vocab bank also, inshallah. So we will continue over the next pages and highlight the points that we learn within this lesson for you to actually practice using with the language that you're learning at the same time, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So the first part of this lesson says هذه أمثلة للفعل المعتل الفاء. Now, للفعل المعتل الفاء. Now this means this is examples of the verb that are initial weak. When we look at the verb, if we look at the pattern, fa'ala is a verb pattern. If you take the first example, wajada. We know the weak letters in the Arabic is alif, waw, ya. Now this verb wajada starts with a weak letter. It coincides in the pattern with fa. So we say هذا معتل الفاء, i.e. is weak in where it coincides with fa. So the place of fa is weak, i.e. wajada, the first letter, the waw is the weak letter. So it's weak in terms of fa. This is called فعل المثال. In Arabic, this is called فعل المثال, okay? Or المعتل الفاء. These are from the names of it. Either فعل المثال أو المعتل الفاء. Okay, and why? Because it starts off with a weak letter. The first letter is a weak letter. So now, in our studies, we're going to start discussing the verbs, different types of verbs. So now we're on the weak verb. So what happens with the verb that's معتل الفاء? So we have examples: وجد, وصل, وزن, وعد, وضع, وهب, وجب, وقف. Again, these will be available in your vocab bank. So make sure you learn the meanings of them. I can't give you everything. You guys need to put in that effort, inshallah. So here it says تأمل المثال ثم اكتب مضارع الأفعال الآتية. Ponder over the example and then write and then write the present tense of them. So wajada becomes yajidu. Asluhu, the original way of this verb is yawjidu. Hudifat minhu al-waw yajidu. So it should, the reality is of this verb, according to the pattern, according to the normal pattern, it should be yawjidu. But it is always being deleted and becomes yajidu. So for pattern's sake, the origin is yawjidu, but the waw is deleted. Whenever we have the first, the verb with the first letter is a weak letter, we delete it. We delete it. Except for any, like a very small number of verbs that you will learn later, inshallah. So here, wajada yajidu, waqafa yaqifu, wazana yazinu, and that's all I'm going to do for you. You guys fill in the rest of the table. Okay, this verb walaja, ma'nahu dakhala, it means the same as dakhala. So this is a benefit. Now you know another word that means another word in Arabic. So معناه دخل. وضع مضارعه يضع لأنه مثل ذهب يذهب. So this is not on the same pattern as the rest of them. They take kasra in the middle. As for وضع and وهب, they take fatha. So وضع يضع, as it mentions here. وهب يهب. يهب. So just pay attention to those points that have been mentioned there. Then it says تأمل المثال ثم ضع الأمر من الأفعال الآتية. تقف قف لا يحتاج إلى الهمزة لأن أوله متحرك. So now it wants to show you the command verb from this form. So it says تقف, because remember the command verb is always second person. تقف becomes قف. Now why did we not put a hamza in the beginning, like we said for example before, usjud, or we said ijlis, uktub, and we had a hamza first. Here, because when we give sukun, when we get rid of the ta, we are left with qi. Now, to get rid of the ta, put sukun on the fa, we have qif. Do I need to put a hamza there? No, because it starts with a vowel sound. The only time you put the hamza in front of in the command verb is because we needed to give it initial vowel sound. There was no initial vowel sound. It started with sukun, and we can't start with sukun in Arabic. But as for this one, taqifu becomes qif. We don't need to add the hamza because this has kasra. It's not sakina. It's not sakina. So for example, tazinu is going to become zin. Okay, ta'idu id, and you finish the rest of them. Tahabu hab, tada'u da'. So that's the command form for this pattern, this type of verb, the one that is initial weak verb. It starts off with a weak letter. Now, iqra ma yali. Again, this is always homework. Read what follows. Read these sentences. Make sure you understand them. Look, identify the rule of them. So you might be going through them and say, okay, look, this is definitely one of those verbs. So highlight all the verbs where you see them. Okay, you look for all the verbs and you highlight them. And make sure you understand the meanings of these sentences. Translate them. Be accustomed to really looking for the meanings of these words and try to start using a dictionary that you have to look for these words. And inshallah, I'll do a separate video of dictionaries that you have that you can use that are available to you and how to use them, and some of the apps that are about, inshallah ta'ala. So we'll go to the next page and go through the exercises there. So another new concept that we have here is تأمل الأمثلة الآتية للاسم المصغر. So in Arabic we have what is called al-ism al-musaghar, and that is when you want to say, for example, if you said like kalbun is a dog, kalbun, and you say a little dog, kulaybun, kulaybun. Let's just say like a puppy or a little dog, like it's a small dog, it's very small. Now this pattern is for aylun. If we have a word that is 3 words made out of 3 letters, for aylun, for aylun. So for example, we have wulaydun. Wulaydun is the small walad. Yeah, you say small boy, little boy. Waladun saghirun, a small boy. Wulaydun. Nuhayrun from nahrun, and that is nahrun saghirun, a small river. Jubaylun is jabalun saghirun, a small mountain. Kulaybun kalbun saghirun, as I mentioned, a small dog. So صغر الأسماء الآتية. So you should follow the same pattern. Okay. What is the pattern here? The pattern is فعيل. فعيل. That is the pattern. فعيل starts with Dhamma. فعيل. وليد ولد وليد نهر نهير جبل جبيل كلب كليب. So that is the pattern for your ism al-musaghar. So again, that's just introducing a new type of word, and you'll always study this as we go along and see more examples and hear more examples, inshallah. The next point, it says here تأمل الأمثلة الآتية لاسم التفضيل. So before we learn اسم تفضيل, like أحسن, أفضل, أطول, أصغر, but now we're learning for those adjectives that have the doubled letter, that are from a doubled root. So قل, قليل, شد, شديد, لذ, لذيذ, حب, حبيب. So what happens is the pattern is أفل, not أفعل, أفل. أي we put شد on the last letter. So شديد, أشد, قليل, أقل, لذيذ, ألذ, حبيب, أحب. So the lam of that is doubled. That is the pattern for these doubled rooted adjectives. So all adjectives that follow this pattern, when we make them the superlative, the relative form of the ism tafdil, then it becomes like this: أقل, أشد, ألذ, أحب, like this. It says اقرأ ما يلي بقي أقل من ساعة. So again, this is examples of the usage of this verb. I mean this pattern of the ism tafdil, not verb. It's similar to a verb, and that is why it doesn't take tanween. Ism at-tafdil, the superlative or comparative adjective. So baqiya, he remained, أقل من ساعة, less than an hour. So أقل, less than an hour. So that's a comparative form. البرتقال اللذيذ والتفاح اللذ منه. Yani the orange is delicious, however the apple is more delicious. Okay, so these are examples. Read through them, translate them, learn the words of some of these relative forms, the types of adjective. Okay, then the next point we learn تأمل ما يلي أين الكتاب ها هو ذا هو هذا يعني أو هذا هو. أين الكتاب ها هو ذا. That's basically saying here it is. أين الساعة ها هي ذي. هذه هي أو هذه هي. ها هي ذي. Okay, now this is to say here it is for something feminine. أين إبراهيم ها أنا ذا. هذا أنا. ها أنا ذا, here I am. So these are ways to say here I am, here it is in Arabic. Just take it as vocab, inshallah ta'ala. These are classroom exercises. If you're in a classroom and I'll ask you يعني أين هذا, وهي يقول ها هو ذا, ها هي ذي, ها أنا ذا, like this. تأمل المثال ثم كون جملا مثله مستعملا فيها يجب على مستعينا بالكلمات الواردة بين القوسين. So here I want you to ponder over the example and make sentences similar to that pattern using يجب على, with the words in brackets, just using what is in brackets as to help you. Now this verb وجب على, وجب is an initial weak, so it becomes يجب على. Now what's so significant about this verb? This verb doesn't conjugate for, it's impersonal, so you don't say تجب, نجب, أجب, لا. It's يجب. If you want to say who it is upon, you say عليك, عليكم, عليك, عليه, عليها, علي. These are how you say like who it is upon, who's an obligation upon. So for example, the first one, it says يجب, it's got على تكتب الواجبات بانتظام. So تكتب, now I know it's أنت, so I say يجب عليك, like this. يجب عليك أن تكتب الواجبات بانتظام. So now here is تحفظين, so it's going to be يجب عليك أن تحفظي. Okay, so pay attention to the rule of an, what happens to the verb that comes after it. Then here it says يجب علينا أن نفهم القرآن ونعمل به. So that was the example. يجب علينا نحن, because it's نفهم ونعمل. So نفهم القرآن ونعمل به was what was in brackets before. Then what did they add? يجب علينا أن. Okay, so we have to. It is a must that, or you have to, depending on who it is you're speaking to. So يجب عليك أن تكتب الواجبات بانتظام. Okay, so again, follow that same pattern and fill in the next sentences, inshallah. And just 2 sentences left to complete following that same pattern. Then we have الذهاب مصدر ذهب يذهب. نقول أريد الذهاب إلى البيت. يا أستاذ أرجو أن تسمح لي بالذهاب إلى المستشفى. خرجت من الفصل للذهاب إلى المدير. هذه تذكرة طائرة إلى دمشق ذهابا وإيابا. Now, the masdar in the Arabic language is what we call the verbal noun. So if I have the verb as it mentions ذهب يذهب, we know ذهب is for the past. It means he went. يذهب is for the present. He goes or he's going. But now the word ذهاب, ذهاب means going without any time associated. This is the verbal noun. So there's no time associated with this. It's just ذهاب, going. Okay. So if I say أريد الذهاب إلى البيت, it's the same as saying أريد أن أذهب إلى البيت. I want to go. I want going to the house. I want to go to the house. I want to go home. So أريد الذهاب إلى البيت is the same as saying أريد أن أذهب إلى البيت. So an important point to know, whenever I have the masdar, I can replace that part of the sentence with an plus the verb. Now let me give you an example of this clearly from one of these sentences that they've given us here. So it illustrates this point very clear. So if I say, for example, أريد الذهاب, okay, it's going to be مفعول به of أريد إلى البيت. I want to go home. Okay, this part أريد we keep the same, but then I can say أن أذهب. أريد أن أذهب إلى البيت. That's the same as saying أريد الذهاب إلى البيت. All I'm using instead of the verb, I'm using the masdar, the verbal noun. Okay. So if you look at this sentence, يا أستاذ أرجو أن تسمح لي بالذهاب, here I can say بأن أذهب إلى المستشفى, like this. So that's just usage of the masdar. We'll actually study this in more detail as we progress, inshallah ta'ala, in lesson 27 of Medina Book 3. Lesson 27 of Medina Book 3, we'll actually discuss the masdar in a lot more detail and the benefits of it and how to use it, inshallah ta'ala. So as you can see, it all connects together, that we keep pushing through and studying bi'idhnillah ta'ala. So on that note, I'll see you guys next lesson. هذه كلماتك الجديد. These are your new words. Remember to learn them, memorize them, start using them, and I look forward to you progressing and benefiting and completing this course bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.